Probably talking to the mic. That does tend to help the quality a little bit. And you'll notice we're,
Sexy.
as per usual, no, we're wearing Halloween costumes, which have fun with this weekend. Like, I know so many pickup guys, they won't even wear costumes on Halloween weekend, and you're just making yourself look extremely boring and unexciting. And Halloween, by the way, probably one of the easiest weekends in the year, if not the easiest, to have casual experiences, if you will, to have one night stands. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but it has to do with the psychology of getting out of your own skin and playing a role. Normally, you have your reputation to worry about. People are judging you. You've got women are very worried about what they might lose if their friends see them being slutty. But when you're in a costume, you're kind of like entering this second skin, if you will, where there's no judgment for acting in a more, let's say, adventurous kind of way, right? So Halloween, including Saturday, Sunday tomorrow as well, one of the best nights to go out. So, definitely do it if you do pick up at all. Definitely go out this weekend. And please just wear some kind of costume because that makes it gives girls an excuse to open you. Last year or 2 years ago, I went as Borat in the mankini. You can look that up on YouTube. I don't think I could even show pictures of that. I mean, you can look that up on Google. I don't think I could even show a picture of that on YouTube without getting in trouble. I wore that. I got approached at least 50 times, and it was one of the easiest times I ever had in terms of pulling. So, great weekend. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so a lot of you guys are coming across as the James Bond character, which I totally get. I sometimes fall into that too after.
Just naturally. Can't
Yeah.
help it.
Yeah, well, it's normal. I get it. But if you guys are going to be out this Halloween, I'm going to say this. The girls are not going after the James Bond characters. They're going after the loose fun guys. The loose fun guys are going to be the ones that get laid. Those are the guys that the girls feel like they could be themselves with. There's two types of attraction. There's logical and there's emotional. Most guys try to win on logical. They try to walk up with the fat wallet. They try to show the girl this incredible life that allows him to like pick up this girl. But I'll say this, the guys that get really, that get all the sex, that have all the women, are the ones that can hit the emotional buttons, that make the girl laugh, that can have fun themselves, that don't take themselves so seriously. If you guys are out here this Halloween and you guys are taking yourself seriously, chances that you guys are gonna get laid are gonna drop dramatically. Like, it's gonna take you a lot longer, it's gonna take you a lot more effort. Halloween's really fucking easy if you guys are willing just to let go and stop having a fucking ego.
Yeah, just fun little. We both have bronchitis, by the way, so we may cough in the middle of our sentences a bit. Or maybe it's something far worse.
It is far worse.
That ends with a 19. I don't know. But I had one Halloween where I actually got a threesome with two very beautiful women, and I had to do nothing for it. It just kind of happened. That's never just happened like that without me having to put a lot of effort into it on a normal day. But I met this one girl, happened to be in one of my classes, and we hit it off. We started dancing, started making out, and then this other girl, she was wearing a cop uniform. She's like, "You're under arrest," and put the handcuffs on me and did that. And I thought, cool, this is like giving me pre-selection. But then I just put my focus back on the other girl, and she started following us. And she ended up following us all the way back to my place, and then ended up having a threesome with two girls in different costumes, and there was some, cop role play involved. It was quite a very nice experience, to say the least. Yeah. And the energy of Halloween facilitated that, made that very easy. So I do highly recommend that you go out on Halloween weekend. If you go out at all, if you watch our channel, you probably go out a little bit, or I don't know, maybe you're just watching it out of anger about these guys who pick up women. I don't know. If that's the case, then, more power to you. But definitely have fun this weekend. So this is basically the first episode of a podcast we're doing. We're going to do the episodes between our two channels. The working title is the Modern Seduction Podcast. If you have other ideas for titles, hey, I'm open-minded to it. But we're going to go over a few topics about pickup, about seduction that we've been thinking about, experiencing, working on creating new ways of navigating. And we're going to talk about those topics. And then at the end, we're going to do some Q&A. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer. But what's the first topic?
All right, so the first one is actually something that I've experienced quite a bit of. And actually, have you ever dated like a stripper, or is this something?
No, I'm too smart for that.
That's a fair point, actually. So to be fair, too, I've also never dated anybody from any like major university, so I guess that goes both ways.
So I had my best friend in the past dated a stripper, and that kind of gave me
An idea.
perspective as to what might happen if you do that.
Yeah. So for the most part, it's the girls. The girls are oftentimes pretty wild. They're pretty crazy. They're very open to insane experiences. So if you guys are trying to get, very wild relationships, very sexually free and adventurous relationships, strippers are amazing at it. But
When they know how to, make a guy feel good physically, because that's
Yeah.
kind of the job. So they're good at using their bodies, if you will.
in a
Right?
manipulative way too. They're
Well,
oft-
that's yeah.
yeah. They oftentimes the ones that I've dated, and I've dated a few, and I've also messed around with a lot more. Fortunately, and I've also messed around with some sex workers. Not paying them, by the way, just in case you guys are curious. I've never actually paid anybody for anything.
Well, if you mean OnlyFans, I mean, who hasn't?
Well, I'll put it this way. If you're gonna date a stripper, just understand there's baggage involved with it. Don't ever think about dating one necessarily seriously, because for the most part, they're oftentimes very mentally fucked up. Most girls that get into this industry are, and I by most I mean almost all of them. They have some kind of they have some kind of trauma in their past that made it more normal for them to express themselves in this way. We actually talked about a theory at one point. Actually, you brought this up, and this actually made sense to me. We were talking about a theory about maybe when a father figure is very distant in a girl's life, maybe she learns to almost express herself more sexually to try to get more attention from men, to try to fill that space.
Yeah, there's been scientific studies that show when women, if they don't have a father figure, they actually go through puberty at a younger age. And the theory behind why that is because if you don't have a father figure, he would provide protection and resources. Let's talk like evolutionary ancient times, especially. He'd provide all these things that children need, and if you can't get it from your father, you can kind of subvert that into another man if you hit puberty at an early age, if you end up being more sexually promiscuous and things of that nature. So there may be a connection there. Why don't you think that, like, devil's advocate, why can't a lot of women who become strippers, why isn't it just because A, it makes a lot of money, maybe they enjoy it, it's fun, it's some kind of artistic expression in a way, and something that is both enjoyable and makes a crap load of money? Why wouldn't that be one of the main reasons?
There is a percentage of girls that actually do that. To be fair, those girls are usually the adventurous types, the ones that like traveling. Which, to be fair to a lot of strippers that are also the other way, love traveling. They're the girls that like
Often with benefactors.
Oftentimes they'll have men, they'll actually pay for them to travel around. So why not? If I had some rich benefactor, some woman off in a far off country, some old lady being like, hey,
Want to come to Dubai in a
come
private
to
jet?
Dubai in a private jet,
Well,
pay for all my dinner. You just have to sleep in my bed and pretend to like be in a relationship with me.
I doubt that's all they ask, but
If my mom is watching this, no, definitely not. I would never go for this.
let me make sure it's working.
But for everybody else, you know what I mean. So I get it. I'm not even like dissing on it too much. I do get how this can be a very like slippery slope though with some of these girls. Like they get used to just being given everything, and then they never develop any skill set. So once they lose the looks, what happens is oftentimes they go downhill really hard. And I've seen this where these girls crumble. And there's a lot of drugs in the stripper scene. A lot of these girls have to get messed up to even do their job. There's a lot of cocaine. There's a lot of pills. There's a lot of alcohol. Every strip club has drinks, and they incentivize their girls to drink because they're going to get a little bit more wild. So they're oftentimes like my very first stripper ex. I actually had my friend walk in. She was in the strip club he went to, and she was high as all hell on cocaine. She was like just strung the hell out, and it hurt my feelings a little bit because she was a really sweet girl, even though she was absolutely fucking nuts. Don't get me wrong. She was diagnosed with borderline. No, not borderline. Bipolar disorder. That one had bipolar disorder.
Borderline is rarely diagnosed.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That one's actually so much more common too. It's an underdiagnosed disease, as you actually mentioned it to me. You were talking about that earlier. Which are both by the way, terrible diseases. Never date a girl with. You should never date a girl with either. They're oftentimes some of the worst girls to date in regards to actually having a healthy relationship that is stable.
Well, the problem is a lot of women with borderline, they're not diagnosed with it. So how do you know that they even have it? That becomes the problem.
Yeah. But like I said, they're oftentimes they make, aside from their crazy bouts, they make very exciting friends. They're very exciting in bed. They're very wild. They're open to threesomes. They're very they're very free spirited. Oftentimes they have the greatest of adventures. We dragged one of mine dragged us through the woods. You were mad about this too, not through the woods but through the mud. And there was like she was taking us to this waterfall, and then the sun started setting, and you were like,
She
"Fuck
had me
this."
bring I had a $1,500 camera. She wanted to take pictures of it, and
Yeah.
it made it sound like it was gonna be just a little walk, and it's going through water and
And then
shit,
she's trying to
and,
hike,
yeah,
like then she's trying to walk this like narrow path between like the waterfall and then like the
very slippery with mud.
Like-
So it's like the chances of breaking the camera or like just falling and breaking some bones,
Yeah.
were very high and not worth a picture it was in the dark anyway.
Yeah, she was a little bit much, but there's so many, like, you guys can't expect like a monogamous relationship with somebody that's ever been a stripper. I mean, unless they've gone through a lot of counseling, unless they've gone through a lot of therapy, unless they had a lot of self-reflection, and
Or they happen to be one of the ones who was doing it for different reasons.
Yeah,
right?
they're
doing it because out of enjoyment rather than out of using and desperation for a lot of money.
there are some that are doing it because they like the idea of adventure, and they're about filling their palette of life, and they want to like do everything before they die. But those ones I've seen personally a lot more that are the other way. So it's hard to find those girls. If you do find those girls and that's your thing, hell yeah. But I'll say this, I wouldn't recommend necessarily dating a stripper seriously. If you're gonna be dating one of these girls, don't expect them to be monogamous with you. Don't expect and if you do try to tie a girl like this down into being monogamous and she agrees but she's reluctant, that's
But I've both of the cases where I had close friends who dated strippers. In both cases, the stripper was the one that tried to tie the guy down or successfully tied the guy down. So
that's actually a lot. That's a lot.
and then both of those relationships were not great. In one case, my friend from years ago, she quit her job for, partly he wanted her to, and then never got a different job, right? And so now she was just basically taking a lot of his money to be supported, and then she ended up never leaving the house. She became more and more like inside. They just like lived in their room together and played video games 8 hours a day, which might be a 15-year-old fantasy, but that gets old pretty quick and it gets depressing pretty quick. And then they started just drinking bottles every day together. And they also were always fighting and always super toxic. And it was just, it went from at the beginning fun and exciting to quickly getting very dark. There's a Russell Brand quote that kind of reminds me of what dating strippers is like. You don't want to be around me when the laughter stops. So after that first like couple hours, when you start to get used to me, it starts to go downhill very quickly. And I think the psychology of strippers, if you think, what is their job? Their job is to learn how to extract resources from men. That's what they're doing, to make a trade of their body, so sexuality, in exchange for resources, in exchange for money. And that you do that again and again and again every day. And you learn, first of all, men are very receptive to this and they seem very satisfied by this. When it's a business relationship, It's only like one dance or two dances or whatever. So it works, they enjoy it. It seems like a win-win scenario, but then it's very easy to superimpose that into your relationships because that's what you've been trained to do. And so I think what a lot of strippers believe on this unconscious level is that what a relationship is about, he gives me resources, I give him sexuality. And that should be enough. I don't have to be, whether or not I'm charming or I have my own passions or I'm like treat him well or respect him or any of those kinds of things, kind of irrelevant. That is the focal point of their relationships because that's what they learn through hundreds, if not thousands of hours of doing that again and again and again. And that is going to lead to relationships that are likely, from what I've seen, not to be the most satisfying.
Yeah, you kind of hit that on the nail. So what he said is actually a little more correct on this. They're very quick to tie you down, and they're very fast to try to get. It's a very toxic relationship.
There's probably exceptions, but
yeah, well, yeah, a lot of them like they're either codependents or narcissists. Most of the time narcissists, and they're oftentimes riddled with mental diseases. So they're either super avoidant and they run away, or they're super desperate and they once they find somebody that they love or like love, I'm gonna throw quotations around that, they pull them in and then they will not let them go. And I mean by not let them go, I mean they'll chase them, they'll hunt them down, they'll like I've had instances of being chased through parking garages multiple times actually.
by like a yeti or a
stripper,
coyote. Oh, by a girl.
yeah,
Okay.
but that's because I was trying to get some space or I was trying to break up with her. And that
Right.
was
And which attachment style is that? By the way, there's something called attachment theory in psychology that you may not all be aware of. It's a very important part, very important to understand because I'd say the majority of modern Americans really have one of the unhealthy types of attachment and the healthy one is rarer. But if you want a healthy relationship, that's what you need because otherwise you're either unable to connect with someone, you always need to be avoidant, or you get overly needy, overly just like clingy as hell. What's the one that you're describing there?
that one is the needy. It's called the
Is it anxious?
the anxious love style. And then there's the avoidant, then there's the healthy, and then there's actually a fourth, which I don't 100% understand yet, but it's the fearful. The fearful.
Okay.
So there's technically four that I've heard of. There's three that are mainly more well known though.
Yeah.
The first one is basically where you're just really comfortable and calm and relaxed in a relationship. Now, if a relationship doesn't work out, you're like, I love and I'm happy with being by myself, so I can walk away from this because this isn't healthy. Now, then there's the avoidant. Basically, what avoidant does is that once a relationship starts getting a little bit more intimate, they start pushing away and they start running. Now, then there's the other one, which is the anxious. This one is the one where it's like, I need this relationship, and they do a death grip on the relationship, trying to keep it there. And all like those last two can be massively toxic in their own ways. The anxious one might not sound immediately bad, but here's the problem: they need you so bad, they're willing to do anything to keep you. And that means that they're willing to be manipulative. They're willing to manipulate you to try to keep you there because they see you as more as an object than a person. They don't care they don't care if being by yourself, if being single is better for you, because then they would be suffering because now you're gone. Their sense of happiness. So they're gonna do anything to keep you there. You're like air. You're like
Well, they
breath.
also have the arrogance to believe, on the other hand, this is how they rationalize it, is that I am the only person who can complete him. He doesn't realize that he needs me. He doesn't realize he needs me. And that's why he's running away. He doesn't realize how good I am for him, or he's not willing to man up yet and commit. And they'll do these mental gymnastics to convince themselves that they don't need to be willing to let you go. That if they let you go, they're not only doing themselves a disservice, but they're also doing you a disservice. So they're basically have this kind of like, what's it called? Saintly complex, if you will.
Yeah.
Like a god complex in a smaller version of that they are your savior and that you're their savior, and it's basically like Romeo and Juliet played out on a real life level.
Oh yeah.
Right, anything else you want to say on the stripper thing, or do you want to move on to the next
let's
topic?
move on to the next one. So here's actually something that I've heard a lot of people bring up in the past is how to pick up girls in loud clubs. You guys are always thinking about how I can't talk to her, she can't hear me, so how am I supposed to pick her up if I can't say the words that make girls like me? Well, here's the thing. Girls aren't attracted to your words necessarily or the context of the words. They're attracted to the undertone, the subtext. They're attracted to the attractive mannerisms that signify that you're an alpha high quality guy. Yes, if the context of your words are very clever and witty and funny, it can express that you're very you're not you consider yourself a high value individual, because these kind of thoughts usually mean that you're not really worrying too much about what the other person's thinking. You're just free flowing and saying whatever the hell you want. To risk being to be charismatic, you have to risk being offensive, and that comes from a mentality of believing that your words are valuable, even if they might offend somebody. If they do offend somebody, you're okay with that person walking away. That's why you're willing to offend people. Not because you're willing to offend people, not because you're willing to do what you think is funny. Other people can now enjoy your energy and feel into the love and that happiness. But go for it.
Oh, well, so I had a client last week who pulled. I helped with the girl's other friends, so we both pulled girls from a very loud nightclub. The clubs in Vegas are extremely loud, about as loud as it gets, and we met them on the dance floor. His girl was really cute. I was being a good coach, and he talked to her for about. He didn't even really talk to her. He started dancing with her pretty much right away. Started dancing for about 5, 6, 7 minutes. And then I told him, all right, it's like, let's lead them out of the club. Let's take them somewhere. And he did. He said, hey, let's go to the bar outside. They agreed. We talked at the bar outside for about 20 minutes. And then we said, hey, let's go play Uno or some Cards Against Humanity or whatever back at my place. And that's all it took. It was less than 30 minutes. And the talking... there was no talking for the first whole section of the interaction. And I also had an instance last week where I brought a girl home. I met her on the dance floor. We started dancing. We made out. And I said, let's go back to my place. And that was about it. We barely even had a conversation. The conversation is often like a bonus or an icing. In many cases, it's just, do you have that energy, the BDE, if you will? Do you have that energy that makes her feel this guy has value? People were having sex before they were having conversations.
Yeah.
That's a very important point. People were having sex before they were having conversations. Language has only existed between 50, maybe 100,000 years. Sex, as humanoids, or if you want to go even to other hominids, whatever, as being humans, that's existed for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
Right? At least like, what, 500,000? Depending on, the science stuff, it varies, but
So
he knows a lot about this.
yeah, I mean, technically, if you think about it, the monkey was to an extent. But,
Well, what, like when it was actually
probably Homo erectus.
yeah, Homo
Homo erectus. That was about 2 million years ago.
2 million years ago.
Yeah.
So they were having sex with basically the same brain with very little changes in that time. So the way our brain works hasn't changed much. And yet we've been having sex that whole time. So that was determined based on things like eye contact, vocal tonality, body language, the energy, because they had no language. Maybe a grunt here and there. Ooh, I don't know, maybe that. But that was about all you had to work with, and that was enough. So yes, in like loud nightclubs, it's hard to have a deep conversation. And if that is your strength, because that's one of my strengths, I will try to move girls to a quieter area whenever I can, to the loungier area of the club, so that we can have make more of a connection, because I like that. But that's not even necessarily required. What's required is you go in strong and you use the loud environment as an excuse to get in closer, to be a little bit more physical. It invites that type of interaction where it is more sexual in nature and less platonic, because otherwise you can't even pay attention to each other. So it means demonstrate, like, you're getting in a little bit, talking into their ears sometimes, getting in a little bit closer, being a little bit more physical. And not having this, because if you're in a Vegas nightclub, and I've had clients, they're like this far away, like, hey, how's it going? She doesn't even fucking hear him, and he said, oh, I got rejected. No, you didn't. She didn't hear you. So you gotta use proximity to your advantage in these type of environments.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like I was saying earlier, it comes down to a lot of the mannerism. So it comes down to, let's go down the line, pauses. If you're talking to a girl in a club, you want to add the pauses to your speech. It adds a lot more of a variation. 2, moments of stillness. Now, if you're talking to a girl and the girl goes, what? What I'll do is I will stop it. I'll pause. I'll look her in the eyes and I'll point at her ear and I'll go like this. And I'll have her bring her ear close to me. I'll yell at her ear, but I'll do it with stillness while I'm looking at her eyes. So I'll be staring in the eyes and I'll give her more of a fuck you eyes, as in like a sexual gaze.
In a good way.
But with stillness. I'll be talking like this, and I'll be talking at her ear, and I'll be just eye fucking her the entire time as I'm yelling at her ear in a way, and I'll be looking just like this. And now whenever she starts talking, I'll point her mouth, and I'll tell her put it right here. And now this is how we start closing the proximity. Now she has to be closer to me. So now there's a instant win instantaneously. So you guys are like saying that this loud environment's a bad thing, but guess what now? She's right here. Literally, I could go like this, and I can make out with her if I wanted to. I could just go like this, and I could start kissing her if I wanted to.
Yeah, I found loud nightclubs is an excuse I hear a lot, how hard it is. There are adjustments you want to make, but in some ways it's easier, some ways it's harder than, say, a loungy bar. Right? A loungy bar, is it now recording?
No,
No, it
they're
is.
covering my face on the lens. Am I seeing that right? No, oh, never mind.
So basically, a loungy bar, it's easier to have a deeper conversation, and it's more chill. But it's less sexual. And then in a high energy, very loud dance club, it's harder. Yeah, you got to be more in their face. You got to be more physical. But that also means it's easier to escalate. So it's really a trade-off. Both are great. If I had to say which I prefer something in between, honestly. I prefer an environment that has like a nice dance club, but it also has a quieter outdoor area. There's some clubs in Vegas like that. Those are the best ones. But not every city has that, and both can work. Like Phoenix, there are no clubs they're all extremely loud. You've been to Old Town. Yeah. They're all extremely loud. There's no outdoor areas. They're louder than Vegas clubs. You can't hear anyone. But is it hard to meet really beautiful women? Not at all. It's actually quite easy to do. You just got to adjust your style. Be flexible. A lot of guys are, no, I'm more the talky introvert guy. Learn to adjust. Be flexible. Make it work. Like people who win, what they think is in terms of how am I going to make it work, not why is this not going to work for me? Why
Yeah.
do I need this, a better environment, a better
Victim mentality.
situation? Yeah, exactly. So it definitely can be made to work.
Oh, yeah.
What's the next topic?
It is. Let's see. We can even talk about threesomes, mental disorders, or mindsets that get you laid.
That's going to be on your channel in the video, so whatever you want to
Okay,
do.
fuck it. Oh, yeah, that's right. Actually, in that case, let's do the threesome one. So,
Let me just check the comments.
yeah, go for it. Do you know how to pull it up? Here, I got you. All right, so one sec. We're checking out the comments right now. This is on your channel, though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, one sec.
Yeah.
And,
right
oh, there it goes. Perfect. All right. So, I'm going to go down the line of how, if you guys want to get more threesomes, I'll put it this way. It took quite a while for me to figure this out. I went through probably a couple hundred lays before I started actually getting threesomes. I had one threesome in that period of time, but I more fell backwards into it. And threesomes are something actually that you can design your approach to raise the percentage of those threesomes happening, especially out in the club scenes. So in this part, I wanted to explain how you could possibly pull a threesome in a nightclub. And I've had so many times where I would have an instance where I'd have to be going home with like two gorgeous girls, and I'd be like, oh no, now I gotta choose which one do I want. And then I'd be like, damn it. And then I'd choose the one that I thought was the sexiest, and I go into her room and I mess with her just to find out the night before they both fucked the same guy. And I was like, I could have chose both of you. Why are you guys acting
They both,
like
had intimate relations. It is YouTube after all. If you
intimate?
say the F word, then it puts it down on the
Oh,
algorithm.
intimate relationships.
I did it too, so.
Yeah, that's YouTube. All right. Anyways,
They had a good time.
Thank you,
together,
YouTube.
As Owen Cook will, they enjoyed each other's company.
we hung out in private in the comfort of not solstice. That's not the right word. That's not the right word whatsoever. Anyways, so here's the way you guys can raise the percentage before I actually go completely off topic. So, one, you guys have to have more of an adventurous over conservative mentality. That means that you have to be 0% judgmental. In the same way, also, again, don't be James Bond. James Bond character is going to make the girl feel conservative too, because you're trying to play up a character. You're trying to win the logical attraction game. No.
Dude, what does being James Bond mean? Because I'm not sure everyone would know.
All right, so James Bond is basically where you feel like you can't be free, you can't be wild, you can't be goofy, because you can't be stupid. You can't stupid.
You got to be prim and proper.
Yeah, you can't.
Like a business meeting.
Yeah, you're afraid of being embarrassed constantly, so then you try to play within these boundaries. But the guys that are considered the high status in a girl's brain are the ones that are the freest, that don't play in this box. They can be wild and free and quirky and fun. And I mean this with a masculine vibe. If you're more of a feminine vibe and you're playing up more of this boyish character, no.
You know, is a great example.
Yeah.
Rap culture, like Jack Harlow would be a great
Jack
example because he's not unmasculine, but he makes all kinds of jokes, basically implying that he's gay, and he's totally comfortable doing that. It's just for fun, and he's playful, and he says, he's a good example of like watching his clips. He's funny. He says whatever he wants. He doesn't censor himself. And then even just a lot of rappers, like you look at the way they dress, the way they present themselves, they're willing to like take it really far and they're not trying to look like the suit and tie kind of look, but they are also masculine. Sometimes I'd say they're too masculine, right? Some rappers, they have this like hyper masculine, it's almost kind of threatening how masculine they try to be. But generally, if you look at the ones that don't take it too far, examples like Jack Harlow comes to mind, is the first one that comes to mind. They do a good job of that.
Oh yeah, definitely. The number two part is actually that you have to start screening a little bit more. I mean, obviously, there's a way of actually popping a girl open. So most girls, honestly, will never tell you if they're open to mess around with a girl for a few reasons. One reason is that they might be looking at you as boyfriend material, which again, it comes back to the adventurous versus conservative frame. If you're coming across as boyfriend material and you're coming across in that way where you are worrying too much about what the girl thinks, you're not being adventurous and fun, the girl's going to put you into more of a boyfriend role. She's going to be like, this is the kind of guy that is not the kind of guy that fucks around. And if he were to fuck another girl other than me, he would leave me for the other girl possibly. So you got to put in the girl's head, firstly, that you're not that kind of guy, that you're a wild, free guy that has a lot of sex, a lot of sexual options. And when you do, the girl's like, oh, he chose me out of a litany, out of so many different women. And out of all these women, he chose me. He chose me, the baddest bitch out of them all. And this girl has high self-esteem in that way. So now she's like, well, if I fuck him with another girl, that's not such a big deal because he won't leave me for another girl. He already had all the options. So why would he leave me for another girl? And not to mention too, if she was open-minded and she was like more into wanting other girls, she was like, she was a little bit, maybe she was bisexual. And you said, hey, let's date a girl together. We're the main couple, but then this girl is going to be our third. All right. But at any point, if she fucks up, we leave her. We leave her, not, her and me leave you. We leave her. And that kind of opens it up a little bit more in her head. Here's the way that I actually will frame it in a club. This is always the one that I always ask a girl so that I can feel out if she's open to threesomes. So this is the way you phrase it so that it will actually be more, so that she'll pop open and actually be more honest with her answer. So, so the way that I phrase it is that usually I will bring up the fact about how men and women are both these like complete opposites. Women on average are sexy as fuck. I think everybody's sexy as frick.
Gotta censor yourself.
Sexy as frick. That sounds
There we go.
that hits the same way too.
Yeah, it's even better.
On average, girls are just a lot more attractive. So, and then if you look at most guys, we're these giant hairy beasts. We're disgusting. We're covered in hair. Unless we work on ourselves really hard, generally speaking, naked, we don't look great. All right, it's just completely different things. And then at this point, usually I'll ask the girl, all right, here, tell me this. Let's grab a random group of guys at this venue. All right, random group of guys. Now let's grab a random group of girls. Now, which one would you want to see naked? Everybody, and I mean almost everybody, not all the time, says girls. And now if they, on the rare, like 1 in 4 to 1 in 10 says guys, that's the kind of girl that will not be open to like making out with her friends and going home with you and her girl. That's gonna be a little bit more difficult. That's a little bit more tough.
And that's basically an example of the concept of persuasion by the psychologist Robert Cialdini, which is where you get someone to agree to something before they've really agreed to it. So the fact that she said, oh, I'd rather see a woman naked, then later on, it's kind of planted the seed of the idea that it might not be a horrible thing if that ended up happening in real life, if she ended up seeing another woman naked. And that's something you can do with polling as well. You bring up an idea, get her to agree that she wants to say, play a certain game with you or to smoke hookah with you or whatever. And then later when you bring it up, hey, let's go do that thing, she's already pre-agreed to the idea and it makes her more likely to say yes. There's been a lot of scientific research that shows it's actually an effective technique, if you will, for persuasion.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's for the most part, most girls are going to be afraid of being slut shamed. A lot of them are. And if they feel like you're just not that kind of guy, if you're just that wild stallion, again, you're adventurous, you're fun, you're free, you're joking around, you don't really care about the outcome of the interaction. I had it where like I would like be in an interaction with 2 different girls and I'd make out with one of the girls and I'd make out the other and it just wasn't that big a deal. To be fair, the toughest thing about this is that you got to keep them from fighting with each other. So it's a balance. It's a little bit of a balance of like trying to make sure that they know that it's not like either or, it's both of them. So at some point, it actually helps to try to
use the competitiveness is useful, but if they feel if one feels too far behind in the competition, like, oh, it's definitely like he prefers her more than me, then it starts to become sour.
I had a point where I had these 2 cousins in a room when they took me back to their place, and they're both in the bathroom screaming about who was going to fuck me, and that was not the desired outcome.
I gotta have a beeper.
Sorry.
Because I am pretty sure that with lives, YouTube actually does like
censor it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my bad.
Because it'll stop showing it to it'll just show it to less people.
All right, my bad. Sorry, YouTube.
I did it too. We'll work on it. I mean, we're not the most censored people, so.
It's work in progress.
I was gonna say we're not trying to be Tony Robbins, but to be fair, he actually cusses a lot.
Oh yeah, he does. He does cuss a lot.
Which is kind of it's funny because it doesn't fit the overall brand image.
Yeah, he comes across very Disney. I think it's more just to like get people out of their tired state.
Pattern interrupt.
Yeah, pattern interrupt. Exactly. It's like the red shoes.
So do you have anything else about threesomes?
There was one more thing. Yeah, you got to at some point early on, like, get the girls to probably make out or have some kind of sexual back and forth, or at least be very calm and relaxed with each other. If they're in the mood of getting combative with each other, you gotta stomp that out real fast. Because if the girls start fighting and they get in this train of fighting, it's gonna be hard to stop. Girls bicker like crazy. They're very territorial. They're worse than what is it? You know, dogs that piss on trees, and then they try to keep the other dogs away by doing this. It's what they do. They start pissing
when someone
on you.
makes their video like exposing Charisma King, like talking about, oh, these pickup coaches are so misogynist. They're definitely, that clip is being used.
And girls are very so. Whereas a guy would be like, oh, that girl's now after that guy. All right, cool. I'll move after a different girl. No, the girls see all the girls after one guy, and they start fighting for that one guy. They all like surround the guy, and they all start like trying to convince that guy to go. I'm not gonna say the words, but I've had girls offer me sex favors in return for sleeping with their friends to get me away from a girl I'd be on a date with out in the club at times. I have stuff like
Sounds
that.
healthy,
Yeah, just massively healthy. But girls, like I said, girls that are very attractive, that are not used to chasing, that they go for the guys that are chased by women that are all the other girls are going for. It's called pre-selection. So you gotta defend against this.
So, how hard is it to get threesomes in a club?
I mean, if I was more aggressive about it, I could probably do a lot more. Probably wouldn't be that hard depending on the club or the girls or your energy. I've had friends who are very, very, very adventurous and just they give off I've had friends that give off no boyfriend vibes whatsoever. A girl will talk to him and just be like, "Oh yeah, that's just him. He's just not the type to settle down. That's okay. That's just him." And then
She's dating some other guy. He's like, and he's, you looked at another woman? You looked at another woman?
No,
a man is not supposed to do that.
the same girl, and this is with one of my friends. This is actually the first time I learned about this idea. She had a boyfriend, and she actually messed around with him at some point before, and she was saying this. And so then what she does is she goes, but here's my friend, and she offers up her friend to him, and he's a little guy, and she's this very attractive, tall girl. Well, they all three go out to the car. She sits in the front seat with another one of her girls, and they watch him mess around with this girl in the back seat. And I mean, mess around with this girl. YouTube, got you.
That's better. See, now we're getting it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll answer the comments, the questions that you guys have left in a second.
I have to actually get to my boot camp.
Well, I was gonna.
My
Well,
boot
we'll
camp's already started technically.
do it quickly, I guess. Well, one last thing I do want to announce, I want to mention, is that I am taking a break from boot camps. I've been doing a boot camp every single week for over a year now. So I've had at least 2, if not 3 clients every single week. It's a very intense program. It's 4 hours a day, 3 days in a row. And what I do is I bring guys out, show them how to approach women and show them basically like what they're doing well and what they're not doing so well. I'll film maybe your approaches to show you, oh, this made the girl uncomfortable, or maybe this was a little too pushy. She actually was giving you these signs. She wanted you to lead things forward, but you just gave up too easily. So I show you the blind spots in your game. I show you how to fix those blind spots, how to make rapid progress. I've had clients, I've had 2 lose their virginity without without needing to pay for it or anything like that. I've had guys have threesomes. I've had guys, many have their first one night stands in their lives, or to find their girlfriend as well. That's also common. So the results have been truly incredible. But if I'm being completely honest, it's not an easy job. You're getting paid to not meet women while you're out. I mean, you still talk to some, but most of the time I'm focused on my client, making sure he gets better, making sure they get results, making sure they succeed. And so I'm not being as selfish, and I'm going to burn out if I keep doing that, because even though it's very rewarding and you see the successes that are incredible, I'm myself working while I'm out. I'm not out just having fun meeting women. I'm out working. I'm on a job, and that has gotten to a point where I'm worried about getting burned out if I just keep doing it every week. So I'm going to be taking 3 months off of doing that, and I was booked over a month ahead doing these boot camps every single week. But what I am still going to do, since I don't want to completely cut out the coaching, I'm going to do 1 boot camp per month for the next few months, and then I may dial it down from there and not do any. I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to do 1 per month with 3 clients. It's going to be the last week of every month. The one for New Year's is already filled out. The one for November has 1 spot left, and then the one for January is the end of January is still available. So if you've been thinking about doing a boot camp with me, that is something that is much more difficult to do because I'm not doing them every week. There's not as much availability. So I'll have a link after this video is posted. I'll have a link down below in the description giving you more information about how to sign up. Sign up for that. You get to do a free call with me to discuss whether it's a good idea for you or not, whether or not you're a good fit for that program. But I just want to make sure that you're aware of that, because those spots will probably get filled up well before the next month. I would say that'll definitely be filled up, and I need it so I can work on building the channel, so I can work on my mastermind group, so I can work on just having my own fun and not feeling like I'm spending too much of my time and energy on working with pickup, where I'm actually enjoying it, because if I'm not enjoying it and having fun with it, I'm going to get burnt out. That's what I've seen happen to other coaches, some that we've both known, where they stop enjoying the process because they've taken on doing a boot camp. You know, some clients are very easy to work with. Some, you're taking on their personal demons. You're taking on like all their negative beliefs. You're butting horns with them and trying to like get them to give up on these negative beliefs they have, and that isn't easy to do. That takes a lot. Takes a lot out of you. So I'm going to be basically reducing the amount I do that. Eventually, I'm going to be training other coaches to do boot camps for me. But if you actually want to take a boot camp with me, this may be the last 3 months where I do those.
Yeah.
Let's look at the
What he said.
What he said. Well, you're a little different with that, I think.
Yeah. I like boot camps, but it is kind of difficult whenever you got a girl all over you, and then back to the clients. Bye, girl.
Yeah, there's been so many times, I'm sure.
And no, she's, it's all cool. It's great. It's the most amazing uplifting experience. You'll see me randomly fist pumping in the club every time a client has an amazing result. Every time a guy gets a make out. Every time the guy's walking a girl out the club, you'll see random me fist pumping like a weirdo. It happens all the fucking time. I freaked out this couple actually last night. That was my client did an approach, and the girl was all over him, and I was just start fist pumping like an idiot. And so this couple next to me looks at me like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" Which hip hip hooray.
So what's up with the girls that look at me several times when I approach? They seem rather reserved. Maybe they're shy. I don't know. I'd have to see how you approach, because maybe you're doing it in a very, like, they're giving you these signs that they're interested, and then you kind of go in and half-ass it, and they think, oh, this guy, like, I thought he was attractive, I thought he had masculine energy, but he's just coming at it kind of inert, and they lose interest, right? A lot of times they might feel something, but then just because they're initially attracted doesn't mean they're actually going to continue to like you. You have to come in strong, especially if a girl's giving you these IOIs, indicators of interest, choosing signals, whatever you want to call them. You got to bring it and like go in, because they're giving you this invitation to do so. So you don't want to half-ass those approaches. Like, go in strong.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you did come in too strong. I mean, again, I'd have to see it. It's more common for people not to come, for guys not to be too reserved and shy about approaching, especially people who watch pickup videos. But it is also possible that you're coming on too strong and needy, and that's also a turnoff. So you got to find that balance. That requires some self-awareness. Watch infield videos of people who are more experienced to get an idea of what that hitting that sweet spot looks like. But it's something that you want to really reflect. Am I coming on too strong, or am I coming on too soft?
I'm just going through some questions right now. Somebody asked, somebody said seed the poll. So I imagine you're asking, he's telling Lucas seed the poll. Oh, never mind. SWAT gang. How do I even pull a stripper? We can actually tell you how to pull like the working girls, the girls out here with the feathers.
I mean, we've both done it.
Yeah, so the way
But it's basically a stripper. It's not that different.
I've pulled strippers too. We actually have a friend who loves pulling strippers. Here's the big thing: never bring up anything that's they're gonna hear classically in their job. Don't bring up anything about their job. Don't try to save them. Don't try to. What else? Don't bring up how they look like your daughter. Don't bring up how.
Don't say they look like your daughter.
That's a common one, surprisingly. Don't bring up. Don't talk about anything about their job. Don't if anything, actually practice empathy. And I oftentimes will even tell them that I've dated a girl in their industry, or I live in the area. If you tell them that you're a tourist, oftentimes they'll be more likely to and they'll put you at arm's length, because I can't take this one seriously, which is so stupid, because then then here I come, and they're not willing to take me seriously either. But in a good way, in a lot better way. You want to come across as that. Then from there, you want to empathize. You want to put it out there that you understand that there's a lot of creepy guys out there. This, by just the understanding, puts it out there that you're not one of those guys. So you want to demonstrate, you want to talk about how you got maybe girls that stalk you. Maybe you want to talk about how a lot of guys are more autistic and they don't pick up the social cues. You want to bring up the fact that you've seen a lot of guys in the past do some kind of creepy XXX. And then from there, you want to maybe establish the fact that girls even chase you in a very roundabout way, in some way possible. So you could say something along the lines of, yeah, I don't know, out here in this area, I've had a big issue with. I mean, the girls out here are gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, but man, y'all are crazy. I mean, not you specifically. I mean, I hope you don't. But a lot of the girls in general. I mean, you guys go straight from being just tentative to being straight stalkerish and not letting me go. And oftentimes the girls will actually pop open and they'll be more relaxed. The way I do it is I pretend like I'm a friend, but I do it in a masculine sexual way with a lot of fun. And then by doing it from this place, not directly hitting on them, but doing it indirectly, it's called direct indirect. I talk to them as a friend, but then I add the pauses, the stillness, the cocky energy, the smile, and the jokes. I tease, I play, I break rapport with my tone. And by adding all this, the girl's gonna start flirting with me over 5 to 10 minutes. Then when she starts flirting with you, you bait her to chase, and as you bait her to chase, she chases more and more, and it becomes a slippery slope, and then she's after you, and then you exchange Instagrams. Or better yet, you hang out with her right there and then, and you take her home.
Yeah, I mean, we have a friend who does it all the time. One thing I've noticed he does is he knows the employees. He makes friends with the employees, as many of them as possible, and the manager who worked, like the owner, and befriends everyone in the strip club, and basically uses that to be on the in, right? So when he's talking to them, he mentions these relationships and connections, talks about them, so that he's not on the out, some customer. He's basically someone who, luckily it's at the end,
Okay.
but he's basically someone who's one of them, right? He's one of them. He's not an outsider, and that helps a lot. All right, with that said, I think we'll wrap up this live. We got some coaching to do. Take advantage of this weekend. It's a really good weekend for going out and having fun, letting loose as well. Don't forget, like, games should be about enjoying yourself and not just being on this like quest to slay the dragon that is getting a hot chick. This is a great weekend that kind of celebrates that energy, and I highly recommend taking part in that and get a costume. Like, look, if you can't do anything else, mine is always Captain Underpants, because all you need is tidy whities and a red cape, and there you go. And you're gonna get a lot of attention if you do it. Be warned. Hey, I've had a good time.
Yeah, we also make use of bathroom anywhere.
It does make using the bathroom a little awkward, but you could also just be book face if you want to be really lazy from the office. Just write book on your face and your Facebook. So there's options. If you could even just go shirtless and say, like, I'm a Calvin Klein model, and it's even funnier if you don't have abs. If you don't have abs, if you got a stomach and you do it and you draw abs on, yeah, I'm a Calvin Klein model. That would be a good costume too. So there's some free ideas if you're too lazy to go to the damn costume store or whatever. The next time we're gonna do this, it'll be on his channel. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, let us know in the comments. But enjoy Halloween, everyone.
Skirt.
Oh, copyright strike.
That's the one that does it.